My name is Ariel Streeter. I have been vegan for about 9 years now.
I'm Raven, about 6.5 years. Yeah, I went vegan in fall 2016.
So veganism to me is more so like a natural way of living where I'm watching what I'm taking into my body and being more conscious of why I'm taking things in. Primarily because I like to think of it as if you can't catch it with your hands or you can't just naturally grow it or get it from the earth, then I don't want it.
I didn't even really know what it meant. I didn't know anything about it. I grew up eating animal products, not thinking twice. And then I had some friends around that time who were vegan. I went with them to this protest. It was like protesting against like animal lab testing. And I met a whole bunch of vegans and they took me out to lunch afterwards and they bought me like vegan food, and it was like, I was kind of blown away because I never really thought about like how many options there were, like how many, and it kind of just clicked. It was like, I don't really have to give up anything. Like, why am I not doing this, you know? I just realized that, yeah, this is what I want to be doing.
I was on track to go to medical school. I wanted to have like a family practice where I could bring the whole family in and kind of teach them how to be well, you know, overall. But I personally wasn't living the lifestyle that I wanted to teach people about. I was eating honey buns every day, like big boxes of little Debbie cakes and you know, Snickers. And I just said, you know, if you want to teach people how to live this lifestyle, you have to live it too. And so I'm like inching towards it. I'm like, I'm going to get rid of this Snickers and I'm going to get rid of, I've already gotten rid of milk. That was an easy one for me, but bacon was my hard thing. So I was like, I'm gonna get rid of that eventually. But he was like, no, you just got to do it. So when I moved to New Jersey with my husband, and then I went vegan, and I haven't looked back since. So
a lot of us, we've been conditioned to just be unnecessarily using and hurting and exploiting animals when we could be completely happy and healthy, not really missing out on anything without doing that. So it's like, if I can, you know, still get everything that I want and need without hurting animals, then of course I want to avoid hurting animals.
So socially, it was difficult at first. First of all, like everybody's in shock because there's like, I'm from down south, I'm from South Carolina, so we got pig's feet and pork rinds and chitlins, you know, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And so everybody's like, well, what can you eat? What, you just eat salad all day? You know, this is before the substitutes became more popular and just the knowledge, you know, and awareness. But it was, you know, it was tough, like going out with friends and stuff like that. You know, fries was like my only option, or some steamed vegetables or something.
I think that's the only downside to it. And I think it's definitely worth it. But it can be challenging, especially at first, because people don't really understand, or they don't really want to understand, because it, you know, I bring up that I'm vegan and people instantly get defensive, as if I'm trying to like pressure them into something, when, you know, I could be just simply stating that I'm vegan, and then they start giving me all of these like, oh, I could never do that. Oh, I love cheese too much, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then people just have to make comments, like, and people don't really get too nasty. It's just more like their own defensiveness. I feel like they think that I feel like I'm superior in some way when I've never implied that. So it can be interesting. A lot of people, I think, have misconception that of being vegan and having a plant-based diet are the same thing. there's a huge difference between going vegan for the animals and, refusing to participate or support any kind of industry that is exploiting animals as far as practical and possible. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but there's a huge difference between that and just eating plant-based for your health. It's a fundamental ethical stance versus a personal diet choice.
The food industry, I started learning about that first. That was one of the things that just, it boiled my blood. And just knowing that here, like in the US, we're like one of the only places that mass produces animals, and then we just slaughter them daily. And those are spirits. They're animals. Like, yes, they can't speak, but they have families. They have like children. They have feelings. And I think it's evident in some of the videos I've seen. The animals, you see it with dogs. You have two dogs and living in a home, one passes away. That dog is depressed. The other one who's left there because his friend is gone. And these animals that we're growing up and killing are having way worse experiences. And if you watch some of the documentaries, you'll see, it just brought me to tears, and I think we have to start caring about that.
The most difficult thing about being vegan is just knowing the extent of how animals are being exploited and abused, and looking around and seeing how nonchalant everyone is about it. Just the fact that there's all of this unnecessary suffering and that nobody seems to care. It just it hurts because, I want to speak up about it, but I don't want to, people aren't going to listen if they don't want to, it kind of just falls on deaf ears most of the time.
From the beginning, it was weird for my family because, they want to feed you. They want to, you come home and visit, and then they want to feed you and feed the children, and then they can't, So for them, it was frustrating, and they pick on me a little bit. They're just like, you need to eat and get some meat on your bones, and that whole deal. It was hurtful a little bit because it's, people kind of distance themselves from you sometimes. But when they see the products, the children and like me, I'm still pretty strong, and I explain to them, I'm like, look at gorillas, elephants, like these animals grow and they don't eat meat. So, that's probably been the most difficult.
It seems like this really huge, big change, right? And it's scary because it's so unfamiliar. And that's kind of what makes people not want to go for it. But it's really just about when you go to the grocery store or when you go to purchase anything, really just stopping and thinking about it. Does this come from animal exploitation or animal abuse? Does this come from an animal? And what is, really the process of that getting to the store, and what exactly are you paying for? And when you make choices in your day-to-day life, just having that in mind, one choice at a time, one purchase at a time, it makes it a little bit easier than trying to just completely rearrange your life all at once. And it really comes down to if your heart's not in it, it's going to be a lot harder. You're going to want to go backwards. But when you really have that emotional connection, when you really have that, fundamental change in your awareness and your, you completely lack any desire to participate in any of that. You don't want that anymore. So it's really just all about changing your mindset first.
What you should do first is figure out your why. Because once you figure out your why and the reason that you want to eat vegan or eat plant-based, then that'll be like your armor, like your defense, because there's going to be temptation. The Snicker is going to call your name, is going to walk up to you and going to say, eat me, but that why is what's going to pull you back in, So I will become firm in that and then start. And then even if you slip one time, just start again. There's nothing over your head saying, eat, there's nothing going to happen. No, you're not going to be struck down. Don't give up on yourself. If it's something that you studied and you want to commit to it, then just keep going, and never stop learning. So, because there's things coming out every day. They're trying to, society sees the pull for veganism and plant-based, and they're trying to profit off of it. So make sure you can just continue to research and look into the different companies who are coming into play and the different, industrial spaces that are being occupied with veganism, because even some vegan foods I wouldn't recommend, because they are processed and they are, slightly like unnatural, and you should watch your consumption of those. So just never stop learning, and then just keep trying and keep going until it just becomes so fluid and easy. It will.
It's a lot easier than it seems. It's like when you haven't tried it, when you haven't, gotten out of your comfort zone, it seems like this impossible hurdle. And so, there's all these thoughts, all these defense mechanisms that are like, no, we're gonna stay the same forever. Don't want to change, too uncomfortable, or like that repression of like the guilt, and like I don't want to acknowledge that because it'll make me feel guilty, and I don't want to feel guilty, or like all these things that just get in the way in your head. But when you really just sit down and sit with it and feel the feelings and do the research, and there's kind of an epiphany moment where it's like, it's really just, why not? Like, what is so hard about just changing a few things about how I live that aren't going to impact me in a negative way at all? And by doing that, removing the negative impact that I'm having on others. I don't know, for me, when it clicked for me, it was just a no-brainer. It was like I knew that it's the right thing to do, and I'm never going back. I can't see myself living any other way. And after a little while, you just get used to it, and it's just easy. I don't think twice about it anymore, and I don't regret it at all. It's the best decision I've ever made, for sure.